This video tutorial. In this video tutorial, we will learn what is WAL in Postgre and how to enable archiving in Postgre instance. So first of all, we will learn what is WAL. So WAL is a short form of write ahead log. So whenever a transaction is performed onto the database, let's say insert, update, delete, or any other which is modifying the Postgre database is first written out to into a file which is known as write ahead log file. Then it is actually saved onto the actual data files of Postgre database. And whatever changes are happening onto the Postgre, they are sequentially written into the WAL file. So it is a kind of if there is some kind of disaster, you have to recover your database, and if you have the WAL files, then you will be able to recover it. So you can replay the changes which has happened onto your database. So this is a short summary of WAL. WAL is nothing. It is write ahead log. So whatever changes are happening to the database, they will be returned to a file which is known as WAL file, which has a particular location in the database, and there it will be saved. So the next thing is what is the location of these WAL files? So WAL files are located under data directory. So let me quickly open a shell. So I have, so let me say sudo systemctl status PostgreSQL. Sudo systemctl status PostgreSQL 12. I have PostgreSQL 12 version installed on my Linux system, and I'm connected through Movaxstrom. So you can see that the status is active and it is in working manner. So the next thing is how do I check the location of WAL? So 9.6 onwards, it is into a particular file which is known as pg_wal, which is under your data directory. So let's go to psql and just say show data underscore directory, and you will be able to see the data directory location. So just navigate to that location and just say ls-ltr, and you can see there is something called as pg_wal. So just cd to that location, and you will be able to see a number of WAL files which are written over there. So this is the default location of your WAL in Postgre environment, and the version is 12. How can we control the WAL? Well, let's say how many WAL files should be there. At this point of time, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files. Let's say, will it be an unlimited number of files? So what will be the size? What will be the maximum size of those files? So there are two parameters. One is WAL keep segments, like how many number of these log files you want to retain on your Postgre system, and what should be the maximum size of these max log max WAL size. So you can see the description in postgre.conf. So let me I'll just say cat postgre.conf, and we'll just grab the value which we are looking for. So we wanted to know about the WAL keep segment. So there is some kind of description also mentioned. Grab minus, let's say, -i. Let me see where, oh, I'm in the wrong location. That's why it is not working. Just say it again, cat postgresql.conf grab. So without entering, I just wanted to see. So you can see that wall keep segments equal to 0. At this point of time, the it is disabled and we can keep it according to our requirement. Let's say I wanted to keep 10, then I have to change this value wall keep segments equal to 10. Then there is another parameter which is max WAL size. So what is the maximum size which I wanted to keep? So just search for this and you will see some kind of description over there. So as of now, the max WAL size is 1 GB. So in this particular file, the WAL file, you can see this particular file in scenarios, it can grow up to maximum of 1 GB. But if there are big transactions, then it can grow beyond the allocated value as well. So archive. The next one is archiving WALs. So what happens if this particular location, the number, let's say 10 numbers are already created, then what after that? So is it going to overwrite that? So in that case, what we have to do is we have to archive those WAL files to a safer location so that we can store it over there, and in case of requirement we can restore it from there. So we will see how to archive those WAL files in some other directory or location, or so the archive command can be used. So uh, there are some commands. You can say archive command in single quotes CP, and then you can mention the destination. So from its default location, it will be copied to a new location so that it is not getting overwrite. So you have always a copy available on your disk. So if you wanted to keep it in S3 bucket on AWS, you can do that. You can keep it on Google Cloud bucket. So those options you have, or if you wanted to just archive it to a particular location, you can do that. So let us see this particular archive underscore command. So cat, I just wanted, without entering it, I wanted to see archive command. So you can see that archive command to use to archive a log file segment. The next one is WAL level. So there are 3 WAL levels in Postgre 12. We have something called as minimal. This is required when your system goes down, and it contains the minimum information which is required to bring your system up. Then you have something called as archive or replica. So archive or replica, in earlier versions it was archive, now it is replica. By default it is as replica, and it has enough information which is required for your WAL files. Then replica is the information which is required to for read-only queries, and if in case you are building a standby server. And logical, that's the highest level, so you can extract the logical changes which have happened. And so to enable the archiving, if I have to enable the archive, the WAL level should be greater than archive. In our case, it will be replica. Archive timeout, what is that? So let's say I am the archive logs, this WAL files are created when the application modifies the data, and in case let's say the application is not accessing the Postgre, and there is no activity happen, then is it like WAL file is not getting created? So you can mention archive timeout equal to n number of minutes or hours. So let's say when we say archive timeout equal to 1 hour, so after every 1 hour, when the counter starts, a new WAL file will be generated even though there is no activity onto the database. And the next one is how to control the size and number of the WAL file. So you can control the size by using WAL, max WAL size. You can keep it up to the n number of GB. So in our case, we will keep it to 1 GB. And how many WAL files you wanted to keep it. So let's say if I say WAL keep segment equal to 10, then it will be returned to 10. Let's perform uh, the uh, the settings. This is a demo which we are going to do, the archival setting. So the number of parameters which will be impacted is wall level. So let's vi this. Let's edit this file postgresql.conf and search for the first parameter, which is wall level. So it has everything. So you can see that here wall level equal to replica is already set, and this is so you have three values: minimal, replica, or logical. So in our case it is already set as a replica, so we already checked. And if you wanted to modify this particular parameter of postgresql.conf, this requires the restart. So this is the first parameter. Then you have max wall size. What is the maximum wall size or WAL size? So as of now it is set to 1 GB. How many segments of WAL you wanted to keep at one particular point of time into the mentioned location? So in our case it is set to 0, that means it is disabled, but we will make it 10. Then you have archive mode. By default this should be off. So archive mode, you can see here archive mode equal to off. To enable archiving, we will have to set it on, and this also requires a restart. Then you have archive command. So archive command is in our case we will use the cp command, and we will copy it to a different location. And then we have archive timeout. I think timeout is also disabled, so it is 0 at this point of time. So what you can do is either you use VI editor, edit the value, save and restart the instance, or just for this demo we can use alter system, so that these value will go into postgresql.conf, and when you restart it, it will read it from there. So just for this demo we are going to perform this. So wall level is already set to replica. Then you have max WAL size. So we will set it to 1 GB. So what we have to do is, I'm already logged in as Postgres OS user. I'll say PSQL, and we'll say alter system set max WAL size equal to 1 GB. Perfect. Then we will, how many WAL files we need? So we wanted to keep 10 files, so we'll say alter system set WAL keep segments is equal to 10. So let's keep 10 WAL segments, and let's enable the archiving, so that when uh, so that from its default location the WAL files will be copied to a new location when we give the cp command. So we have to, for that to happen, we have to set it on. The archive mode has to be set on. And then we will have, so what we wanted to do, we wanted to keep the archive logs to a particular location, which is postgre /log. So what we will fire the command is alter system set archive command equal to, in single quotes we will say cp %p, and the destination is postgre/log, and the archives will be copied in the form of archive underscore val and a unique value. So let's fire this command. Preferentially you can use vi, make the changes there, and then restart the system. Ensure there is at least one val size for archive timeout duration. So what we will do is, even if there is no activity for this Postgre environment, let's say there is no data getting changed in 1 hour, there will be a switch happen and the val file will be generated. So we have made all the changes. Now we will restart the instance. Let's come out of the psql prompt. Yes, and restart the Postgre 12 and now check out. The first parameter for archiving is show WAL levels. So it is set to replica by default. So you have minimum, you have replica, and you have logical. So for our case, for archiving, this is more than sufficient. Then what should be the maximum size of WAL files? So it is set to maximum of 1 GB. How many WAL files we can store at a one particular point of time? So we have set it to 10. Have we enabled the archiving so that these can be copied to a new location? So archive mode is on. Then what is the archive command to copy the WAL files from their default location to a new location? So this will be copied to this particular location. So we will navigate to that and we'll see. And finally, archive timeout. So even after 1 hour, no activity happens, which generates a WAL file before the data gets returned to the data files. A switch will happen and an archive a WAL file will be generated. So if you would have worked in environment like Oracle where archive logs are there, and in there are transaction logs in MS-SQL, then you have bin log in MySQL. So it is I believe synonymous to that. Just quit out of this prompt and we'll see if there are some logs generated or not. So we have given a dedicated storage file system for storing the archive logs of WAL. So you can see that this has happened and it is in the format of archive_WAL. So just a recap, what is WAL? WAL is just a short form of write ahead log, and this is not a feature of this particular database. In fact, most of the RDMS has this. So before the data is modified data is actually returned to the data files, there is a, a file which is created so that you have that when there is some kind of restoration required, you can restore from those files. So in Postgre it is known as write ahead log, and whatever changes are happening onto the database, they are first returned to the WAL files. So what is the location? Location is data underscore directory, and it is returned under pg_WAL. So how can we keep control the size of WAL? So you have two parameters. One is WAL keep segments. How many number of WALs you wanted to keep, 10, 20, 30, or whatever you have according to your requirement, you can keep it. Max WAL size, what should be the maximum size of WAL? So it is 1G in our case. Archiving WALs, so you can archive the WALs when your archive mode is on, and you have to use some kind of CP command so that you can copy those files from default location to a new location. Then there are the WAL levels. You have minimum, replica, and logical in 12. Archive timeout is when there is no activity on the database, there will be a WAL file generated. And how to control the size and the number we have already seen. And finally, the archival settings. So we have to set WAL level equal to minimum to replica for archiving to happen. Max WAL size, which is the size required to keep the maximum size of WAL files. Then you have how many numbers you wanted to keep. So in our case, we wanted it 10. So WAL keep segments equal to 10. Then we have archive mode equal to on. This is mandatory. Then you have the archive command. In our case, we used cp %p and the destination. And finally, the archive timeout. These either you use the VI editor, since this was a demo, so I used order system set, and I restarted the instance, and we checked all the values, so everything was reflecting as required. So archiving is happening as of now, and after 1 hour, when the timeout happens, there will be a switch also happening. So this is all about the WAL, what is WAL, how to control the different parameters, how to do the archiving. So I hope this is going to help, and stay tuned for the next tutorial. Thanks, and thanks for watching.